Hi, third grade. So, this is your second social studies lesson. And I just wanted to say that you impressed me yesterday with how much you remembered about rights and responsibilities. And that's really important because we're working towards this target in social studies, right? Remember when I told you yesterday that we're working on the same goal for 8 lessons? And today is only lesson number 2. And I'm very happy about where we are, right? Because we're working to climb the ladder. Our goal is that by the end of lesson 8, we can say we're at a 3, right? Green means goal. You want to be able to say that. I can explain that it is my responsibility as a citizen to use my role as an advocate to help others. Now, we're not quite there yet. And we are in fact kind of in this range, right? 1 and 2. So we can all say that we can explain what rights and responsibilities are. I know that because we did so well yesterday. So I'm going to put a check mark here to remind you that we've got that already. We're good to go. So now we're really working on this target here. Okay, that I can explain that being a US citizen comes with rights and responsibilities. Now, today, maybe some of your families told you about it today. There's something special about this date. And unfortunately, it's not special for a good reason. On this same day, September 11th, 2001, that was 19 years ago, something very sad happened. And even though sometimes we don't like to think about things that are sad, it's important that we remember what happened on this day and the lessons that we can take from it. Okay? So I'm going to play you part of this Brain Pop video to help tell you a little bit about what happened on this day, September 11th, 2001.
I think this is it. Dear Tim and Moby, I know that the Twin Towers fell on 9/11, but why would someone do that? From Tiffany. This is a tough one. Maybe we should go over what happened first. The morning of September 11th, 2001 started off as your average Tuesday. People went about their business as usual. At 8:46 a.m., though, everything changed. At that moment, an airplane full of passengers flew into one of the Twin Towers. Those were the 2 tallest structures of the World Trade Center in downtown New York City. All the people on the plane were killed, and so were many people in the building. I know. Then, about 20 minutes later, a second plane flew into the other tower. It was then that people started to realize that this was no accident. It was an attack.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this happened when I was in first grade. So I was 6 years old. So I don't really have that many memories of that day. But my mom always talks about how she remembers she saw us, my brother and sister and I, get on the bus from school, well, to go to school. And she came home and she turned on the news, and it was just breaking that one plane had been hit. And then while they were on the air live, they saw another plane be hit. And that's when she said that she realized that that was not an accident, that somebody chose to do this.
It was clear that the planes had been hijacked or forcefully taken over. Shortly after that, there was another plane crash, but this time it was at the Pentagon, right outside Washington, D.C.
So the Pentagon is where it's like the head of the military. So in all the different branches of the military, like Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Marines, and a lot of their important offices and buildings are at the Pentagon.
The Pentagon is the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense. Next, the unthinkable happened. Back in New York, the South Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed. It was a devastating blow. Debris flew everywhere, and all of downtown Manhattan was covered in a cloud of dust and smoke. Fortunately, most people were able to get out of the tower before it fell. But many others, including firefighters and police officers who had gone in to help, were trapped and killed. Well, the building had actually been designed to handle small crashes, but nothing like this. The fuel from the airplane ignited an enormous fire that destroyed the skyscraper's internal structure.
So I wonder if you know what the word ignite means. What does that word mean? What do you think? It said that the fuel from the planes ignited a fire. I'm going to tell you, if you want some more time to think, then please pause the video. I'm going to tell you what ignite means in 3, 2, 1, 0. So ignite is like, it means to start a fire. So that's what happened, unfortunately, that the buildings, even though they tried to design them to keep from falling if a crash happened because they were up so high, still the jet fuel just caught on fire and then they fell.
It was the same problem at the North Tower, and at 10:28 a.m. it too collapsed. Hundreds of people lost their lives in an instant. Around the time of the South Tower's collapse, another plane crashed in an empty field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. This fourth hijacked plane was most likely intended to hit another building, but evidence suggests that passengers took the airplane over from the hijackers, causing it to crash. There were no survivors. Yeah, all told, 3,000 civilians lost their lives that day.
Yeah, so there were a lot of times people, when they think about September 11th, just like the girl who wrote in the video, they'll say, oh, that's the Twin Towers. That's what they used to call the World Trade Center because, well, they looked identical, right? Two things that looked identical, a lot of people call twins. So a lot of people just think about them, but then you remember that it wasn't just two planes that hit the Twin Towers. There was also a plane that hit the Pentagon, and then this other plane that we don't know where it was supposed to go, but they do know from hearing voice messages that plane was taken over, but the passengers stood up to the people who took the plane over. And unfortunately, they lost their lives, but they probably saved a lot more lives as well. And yeah, unfortunately, though, almost 3,000 people passed away on 9/11. Right. So, like I said, it's a difficult thing to talk about, but it's important that we continue to talk about it because you can take some positive out of what happened on that day. Yes, of course, it doesn't take away the sadness, right? Losing so many people like that, so many citizens and people losing their family members is devastating. But there were so many people that tried to help. Like, we had firefighters risking their lives, police officers, paramedics, and even there's a lot of stories of civilians, right? Civilians are people who are just regular people like you and me who aren't a police officer, firefighter, or a paramedic. There's even a lot of stories of civilians helping each other out too. And that's something that, again, what I remember is a couple days afterwards that just all across my town, and I think it might have actually been the country, but there was a candlelight vigil, and we all just, we tried to think about and honor all the people who lost their lives, and especially those who lost their lives while helping each other out. And this was really, it was devastating because some of the rights that we talked about, let's see if I could do this. Some of the rights that we talked about yesterday, so here, were things like to be right to be yourself and the right to feel safe. We all have that right. And for something like that to happen, that just went complete, it just felt like rights were being taken away. But then, like I said, there is hope. And there's always hope when things like that happen because there will always be helpers. That's what I remember hearing as a kid. Whenever something scary happens, you're in a situation, look for the helpers. And there will always be people that are there to help you. Okay? So, I hope that made sense. I mean, it's something that's very difficult to talk about, especially not being in person. And what I want you to do, if you haven't already, is maybe ask your family members. So I'm talking about, when I say family members, I should be more specific, adults that remember 9/11, and see if what they remember. Maybe if they're a little older than me, maybe they remember more. Maybe their memories are just different, right? And I bet, though, if you ask them, they would also talk about how they remember just this sense of everybody really trying to come together and help out and honor each other and honor our rights. Okay? All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. And I will see you in a little bit, either for your math lesson or for our afternoon meeting.